they ignored Daesh, and also the strikes in Moscow, and no one is talking about what's happening or anything that's happening. They are talking about nothing but Russia. They are talking about how violent we are, and you have seen this yourselves. And on this background, because of these allegations and these alleged Russian actions, let's say that this is something that they are making up to increase the budget on militarization. And as for Ukraine, they have signed different, but they did a military war, and they confessed that, and they said that Russia is being violent. And they are acting in a strange way. For example, there is a bloody war against the civilians, and we have tried to reach an agreement to stop these wars. And when the previous French president, they confessed that, and they confessed that they tried to provide Ukraine with guns, and they had this war for 8 years, and we were forced to use force, and acknowledging us according to the law, but no one is talking about this. So so those who were killed, what did they do? We wouldn't have allowed things to reach this, but they want to spend lots of money on being armed. Around 3.6% of the income is being spent, which is very high, and we want to solve this problem. And I don't want to compare politically. So from my point of view, from the historical point of view, the USA has spent 14% in Vietnam, 10% in Vietnam. They spent 10% from the gross domestic product, and they did crimes and ignored the economic. But we are trying to solve this problem. And as for the 3.6%, around 3.6 trillion ruble. 223 million ruble. This is lots of money. There was an inflation in our country, and we are fighting this inflation through some economic procedures. But anyways, we are solving this case logically, and as I mentioned before, is being and it has increased with a huge percentage. 4%. It increased by 4%, and all these points Um, but the West are always saying that Russia will be gone soon. But the West will be the ones that will be gone. When I mentioned that there is in our economy, it will be less than the usual, but it will be, according to us, it will be around 1%. And in regard to European countries like Germany and France, we can see an economic. And as for the military, we are always talking about different problems in our military side. And the Europeans are saying that they will cause much damages to Russia. Where is the logic in that? If everything is falling in Russia, as you're saying, then why are you asking to increase the budget in the NATO? They're asking for a bigger budget, but we are spending this money to support our military. But they're spending 5% to buy weapons from the USA. But we are working on decreasing the budget for the military, and in the next 3 years we don't have plans regarding this in the government, but we plan to reduce the budget, the expenditures, but Europe is planning on increasing those expenditures. So who's planning to criminal acts, us or Europe? We are moving forward as usual to reach our goals in military-wise, and we don't follow what Europeans are doing. Who's being violent here? So all these thoughts on increasing military expenditures won't be of benefit to their economy, and it will hurt them. Mr. President, a short period ago, the French president talked about the consequences, and according to them, these consequences may include Russian reduction in the military and other consequences. And what will happen after these consequences? I answered this question. The more the consequences, the more harmful they will be to those who impose them, and this is for France specifically and Europe generally. Europe is buying more gas, and today $400 for every kilometer square. And now petrol has reached around $75 per tank. So if something happens in the Middle East, what's gonna happen? They won't be able to do that. Are they gonna close the roads? They won't do that. So the amount of petrol that we know that we need are increasing, and because of growing economy. We can't escape this.
But production increases according to what was وفقا الإنتاج سيزداد وفقا لما تم
And production will
الاتفاق عليه
increase according to what we
Plus.
agreed on at OPEC Plus.
لن يفيد
And
الاقتصاد الأوروبي أي شيء في هذه
nothing
الحالة.
will
سوف ننظر
benefit the
ما هي
European
الوقائع
economy
التي
here. We will look at the
تجري،
facts
ولا
happening,
أعتقد أن هذا
and I
سينعكس
don't think that
علينا
this
بشكل
will reflect
مؤثر. فهناك
on us in a bad
الآلاف من
way,
العقوبات
because
التي
there
فرضت
are
ونحن موجودون في
consequences that have been
هذه
imposed, and we are
الحالة التي نحن
here.
بصددها. نرى النمو
We
في
see
الاقتصاد في العام الماضي 4.3%.
how economy has grown 4.3%.
فخامة الرئيس سألت
Mr. President, don't you think that
الأوان
it is time
للقاء الشخصي
to meet personally
من أجل الوصول إلى
to
حل
reach a resolution?
إن المواجهة وجها لوجه تكون أمرا آخر. ما
Face
رأيك؟
to face
أنا
is a
أحترم
different
الرئيس
story. What do you
الحالي
think?
للولايات
I respect
المتحدة
the current president of the USA.
وهو كان
And
قد صار
he
إلى البيت الأبيض وإلى السلطة بطريق صعب.
reached the White House and
ولقد
the
جرت
power
عدة
in a hard way, and
اغتياله.
there were
وإنما يقوم
attempts
به
to
من أجل
kill
الوضع
him.
الداخلي في بلاده.
And with everything going on in his country and with everything going on at the Middle East.
تابعنا إذن مشاهدينا جانبا من المؤتمر الصحفي